The Senate reached a deal on a sweeping $2 trillion stimulus package Wednesday that extends an extraordinary lifeline to Americans in virtually every circumstance who have been affected by the coronavirus: workers, the unemployed, the self-employed and contractors. Meanwhile, businesses large and small would receive hundreds of billions of dollars in financial assistance in the hope that they'll avoid shutting down or having to lay off employees. While the Senate is expected to pass the bill Wednesday, a House vote will come later and many details are still in flux. Based on what we know now, here's how the historic legislation would affect you and the economy. The legislation includes $500 billion in loans to larger industries, such as airlines and possibly cruise ships. The money would help keep the companies afloat now that revenue has shriveled, helping them avoid layoffs or furloughs. Some Democrats oppose that kind of bailout to big companies that typically have more cash and larger lines of credit. But after the government bailed out the banks in 2008 through the Troubled Asset Relief Program, the financial institutions paid that money back with interest, leaving the government with a profit. The economy is almost certainly already in a recession, with Moody's Analytics estimating gross domestic product will decline at a 2.2% annual rate in the current quarter. Without the stimulus, the economy would contract by another stunning 28.4% in the second quarter before rebounding in the third quarter, assuming the outbreak eases by summer. But that blow to GDP is so massive that it could trigger a longer and deeper recession, says Moody's chief economist Mark Zandi. With the stimulus, the economy would contract by 17.4% in the second quarter and the chances of a more devastating downturn are sharply reduced, Zandi says. His forecasts are based on the assumption that the number of U.S. coronavirus cases, now about 56,000, peaks at 200,000 to 250,000 by summer. Without the relief, more than 10 million Americans would be laid off this year, Zandi estimates. Unemployment would soar from a half-century low of 3.5% to more than 10%, he says. With the rescue package, about 7.5 Americans would lose their jobs and unemployment would peak at about 8.6%, Zandi estimates.